Hey guys, Craig here again. Well, an update on the 432 then. At this point I must give you a disclaimer that this kit should come with a health warning. I have sliced my thumb with my X-Acto, so it's cost me DNA already. Anyhow, I've plodded on with it. I've pretty much built the interior, so I've covered the first couple of pages in the book. Up to page 6. So building the interior then, straightforward. Follow the instructions, you can't go wrong. There's a few bits that I'll point out to you regarding the kit, and things that I've done slightly different to what the instructions have said. So the first part then, fairly simple. It's the sidewalls and the chairs, the commander's mounting point, and then the wall for the side of the driver's seat. It's telling you to make 3. Dead simple. You can't get it wrong fitting the sidewall. There's 3 little lugs at the bottom and a pin at the back, and basically the wall just slots onto the cutouts. Step 2 is the tillers onto the driver's floor. Can't get that wrong. Commander's step, again, you can't get it wrong, and it all just fits perfectly. Step 3 then is the Klansman's. Again, it's proper on, so it does what it says on the tin. No issues there. Step 4 then is fitting the Klansman, the radio control boxes, the vehicle battery boxes, and then you've got a couple of vehicle control boxes here that fit onto the side wall. Again, no issues there. Something I'll point out here though is, with this wall and where the seat goes, there's 2 ways of doing it, and I'll come on to that in a second when I get onto it. Moving on, step 5 then was part of the driver's compartment, where it's got the commander step, it's got the accelerator and brake. Then it goes on to the driver's chair, fitting all the chair together. Then it's putting the bulkhead onto the side of the driver's compartment. Step 6 is finishing off the driver's control panels for the bulkhead, and then the rear bulkhead into the fighting compartment for that part. Step 7 is the commander's chair, fitting the commander's chair to its mount. Then it's fitting a bracing bar and what is in actual fact the rear load box, the toolbox at the back, part of that. Then it's moving on to the sidewall on the other side of the fighting compartment, which is exactly the same as the opposite side. Again, it's got the lugs on the bottom, so it just slots in and it fits. Second set of battery boxes. Then you've got a bracing bar. That's pretty much those steps done. On this side's the air purification unit, and then it's got the control boxes for the driver up on the front sidewall here. And then that's pretty much as far as I've got to. The other sidewall, there's nothing on it, it just goes on. And I've stopped at that point. I've left the rear off at the minute because I've got to paint the inside now. And then from fitting that, you're then moving on to fitting all the accessories on the outside of the vehicle. So by the time you get to step 9 3/4, which is the rear door bulkhead, you're pretty much done with the interior. So things with this kit then, I'll show you the actual vehicle where we're at. So this is the little beastie. As you can see, the detail in that interior is absolutely phenomenal. Everything just fits together perfectly. As you can see, it just screams detail. Okay, this little load compartment here, there's nothing that goes in there, so that would be where you'd put your Bergens or whatever. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing for the gearbox or engine that goes into here, so that would be a nice upgrade for somebody. Verlinden, Accurate Armour, whoever makes aftermarket accessories, there's a market for that, because it's just a great big gaping hole. As you can see on the inside, the driver's compartment is pretty much spot on. You can't really knock that. Bearing in mind, all you're really going to see is this part here through the hatch, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So issues with this then that I've had, what I was telling you about, the driver's seat when it fits in, as you can see, cost a little bit of DNA. Where this fits in, you can't really see it on the model now, but I'll show you on the instructions. If we go back to that stage here, this panel here, G28, when it fits onto the sidewall, obviously increases the width a little bit. Then you put in piece G50 onto the side, and what you'll notice is this fits snugly along the cutout along the wall, okay, and then it fits really snugly into the locating pieces on the bottom. What you then do is you put the driver's seat onto G50, and what you'll notice then is, you can just about see it here, this lug here is snug against the wall, so you'll find that the actual seat mount here doesn't fit because this piece is just slightly too close to the wall. So what I've had to do is I've literally had to chop a millimetre or so, or a slither of plastic off this while it was in situ to get the driver's seat in. Knowing that now, for you guys, what you could do is just move it across ever so slightly away from the wall so it's not snug, and you should get your seat straight in. If not, and you just put it straight against the wall like I have, as the instructions have shown, you won't get the driver's seat in. And you're going to have to chop, like I said, this little bar going across here, you're going to have to chop the inside against the wall to get the inside seat brace to fit in. Otherwise you're going to have a wonky seat. The other thing that it shows you how to do is it tells you to put this bulkhead on now at this point, and then you're building all of this, and then it gets fitted into here. The way I've done it is I built this back wall first and placed the back wall in situ and got that square. Then I built all of this, glued it to that part, which is actually this G25, glued the pieces together, and then I glued that into the compartment and then glued it to the back wall, if that makes any sense. So basically I put this part in first, then I put that part in, and then I put this part in on top to get it all square. If you do it this way and then try and do this, it doesn't quite fit properly, and you'll find that there's locating pins, as you can see here. There's the same pin on the other side, and then this floor sits on these locating pins down here, and it's really snug. However, you might find that it's going to be kind of squint or lopsided if you try and follow the instructions at that point, because it is that snug. Once the glue's in and you've got this in, you've got no chance of manipulating it for this part, which is here. And if you can't manipulate that part, you're not going to get this wall in to get it square. So as you can see with mine, it's square. It's sat pretty much flush. Although don't look it in the video, trust me, it is square. That's probably a better angle so you can see it. And it fits lovely once you get it in. But that's the way I did this. This wall, the bottom panel in there, and then the top panel is the way you want to do that. Fiddly parts on here then, you've got the commander seat. So once you've got all of this in, they're asking you to put the commander seat on the post. And as you can see, my finger is as wide as that gap, so it's a tweezer job. You may be better off putting the seat on and then sealing it in with this. Might make life a little bit easier if you're struggling or you can't use tweezers that well. Other issues with the kit that I've seen: injector pin marks. Some of them are actually quite phenomenal. Majority of them, to be perfectly honest, are in places that you can't see. As you can see on the inside, they are pretty savage injector pin marks. However, you get one on the inside of here. As you can see, it's been scraped away. You get a big one on the inside of there. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I nearly had it there. There's a circle. Oh, it's trying to get the angle for you. There's a circle here where the injector pin mark was. But luckily it's in an area, bearing in mind when you get the door on, you can't really see it, to be honest, but it's there. Some of them though are really, really savage, to be perfectly honest. That's the two worst ones and the only two that you're going to see. There's a couple more on the side panel here. Oh, it's probably easier to show you on there. On these walls, before you put the seats on, it doesn't show you them because it's already got the seats on, but there's two round injected pin marks on this side in between the detail that you can't see once the seats are on, but you know it's there, so it'll get on your nerves. So clearing that up is going to take a little bit of work because you've got all these mounting points and all the little brackets and everything all the way going around it. So you're going to have to be super careful, and super careful with sandpaper or whatever if you want them gone. But as you can see, to be perfectly honest, once the seats are in, I've scraped them away as best as I can. I know they're there, but you can't actually see them because they're sat behind the actual seat bit. Other than that, at this point, it's a lovely kit to build. It's dead simple. The instructions are easy to follow. The detail on it is absolutely phenomenal, as you can see. So first impressions up to this point then. Is it worth buying? If you're a fan of British Armour and APCs, yeah, it is. Does it cater for everybody? Yeah, I think it does. Bearing in mind that you've really got to think how you want to display this. If you're going to go full hogs and spend the 35 to 45, 46 pound on the kit, you could be wasting your money a little bit if you're not going to make most of the interior. By me saying does it cater for all ages, yeah it does. Because if the interior is too complicated, you basically leave the interior empty, put the sidewalls on, maybe put that brace and strut across, have everything buttoned up, dead easy. It's no different to building a Challenger or an Abrams or any other tank with no interior in it. But to make the most of this, you've really got to think how you're going to do it. You could do it in sections, like I've seen some of the guys with the old Tiger tanks with the interiors, the Tiger 2 tanks, and they build them in stages, so you can see every stage going through. Can't really do that with this. You can leave the hatches open so you can see in, but bearing in mind it's 1/35 scale and you're not really going to see a great deal through the rear door to justify the interior. You're not going to see a great deal through the driver's hatch to justify the interior. So maybe it's worth leaving the roof off or not glued down and having it raised on some sort of pole or something, like a perspex pole or something, or just leaving it off, so if you want to see in it you can just take the roof off and put it back on. But yeah, think about what you're going to do with it. There's a lot of detail in there that's absolutely phenomenal, and it's, in my eyes, a lot of it's going to be wasted because you're not going to see it. It's what I'm saying. The detail on it is actually super phenomenal, to the extent that you got things in there like the little gear lever. It's one of the world's smallest parts I've come across for this vehicle. It's tiny, but it's there. It's a separate part. Things like the brake pedal, which is down here, you're never going to see it. Never in a month of Sundays once you've got the, bearing in mind the cover's going to go there, so all you're going to really see is the seat. But it's there, so this kit's really going to please the Rivet counters because every detail's in it. but you can just about see it in there. The brake pedal is tiny. That's the tip of an X-Acto on it, so you can kind of see how tiny that actually is. But it's there. Oh, I've just knocked it a little bit. Let's knock it back. The seat detail on that superstructure that the seat's built around is phenomenal. Every nut, every bolt, every handle, every lever is there. Can you see it? No. Again, ideally, if you were going to do this kit as a cutout, you'd cut out the side panels. You know, where people cut out a section and paint it red, so it's sort of like a display thing, so you can see in. That would benefit this model 100%. Is it worth the money though? Yeah, I think it is. Definitely. Quite what I'm going to do with this now, I've seen it in the flesh and it's all coming together, I'm not sure. Because now I'm thinking, how do I display the inside of this thing? Other than the back door. I had his thoughts of putting the lights in. So it glows up the interior. However, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I could do that actually, but we'll see how that goes. I might put a couple of little LEDs in there, a couple of little SMDs for the interior lights, and get some light in there. But again, once the door's on, you're going to see very little of the rear. Suggestions: if you're going to buy one of these, I'd maybe buy a couple of them and do them together, because I don't think one on its own as a static model is going to do it justice. You could really do with two and do something with it. Again, it's just going to be wasted, and you're going to waste your money if you're not going to utilise the effort that's gone into making the kit, basically. So overall, well impressed with it. Downsides: the injector pin marks are awful in places. I'll try and show you what I mean if I can find a big piece that's got injector pin marks on. The other thing I'm coming across with this as well, just give us a second. With regards to the injector pin marks, there's a few of the pieces. Oh, there's a piece there. In fact, that's a pretty good piece to show you. Some of the pieces fall off the sprues really easy. Some of them not so much. Luckily, a lot of the smaller pieces that go onto these come straight off. But the ones that I'm finding with these Mexican type Tash injection pin marks and here can be a bit of a ball ache to get off. Particularly this crow's foot type one there, where the piece was really close together, and the actual piece for that, what it was, is left. I don't know if that's going to zoom in. Those 3 white marks on this panel here. It basically took a chunk out because it was so close together, but it was solid. Whereas the smaller pieces, they come off really easy. So you're just going to have to bear in mind, just be careful how you cut some of the pieces off. With the injection pin marks, the one thing that's really getting on my nerves, which is what actually caused that, is you're getting this half moon big chunk of plastic on a lot of the bigger pieces. And cutting that off is not easy, resulting in half a thumb being chopped off. But other than that, again, there's some savage injector pin marks. Luckily, the majority of it's all in places that it doesn't matter, but you know they're there. If that makes any sense, it'll probably get on your nerves knowing they're there. But these pieces you've got to get rid of, because some of them, that's actually above the actual moulded line that you're going to glue down, so you'd have to trim that regardless. I don't know if you can just about see it. It is sitting proud of the actual piece here. You can hear it. Oh, so yeah, there's a lot of this going on. How to rectify that Takom, I don't know. Maybe a little bit less plastic being pumped in on specific pieces. But overall, it's not too bad. Definitely for me, being an armour sort of like British armour sort of like enthusiast slash freak, I'm well impressed with it. Something I mentioned in the other video on the review was length. It is actually quite tiny, not that you can really tell, but you're looking at about 14 centimeters in length. With all the boxes on, you're probably looking at 15 centimeters in length. Height wise, bearing in mind there's no road wheels on it or the roof, you're probably looking at around about the 6.5 centimeter mark, unless you put the big basket on, and then you're probably looking at about 7.5 centimeters tall. So it's not actually a massive build, but it's awesome. I'm loving it. Anyway, so that's where I'm at with this. The next part I'm going to do with it, obviously you're going to have to prime it now. These walls are that, although they look on, they're not, they're just tacked. So you could see what it looked like. So I'm going to have to get all the interior painted at this point, and then I can get the back on, and then from there it's doing the outside bits, because there's not actually a great deal left to do on it, to be honest. We're on page 6 now, so I'll finish off page 6, and then it goes on off to page 16, which is the basket, which I'm not doing anyway. So we're only going to go to page 15. So yeah, there's not a great deal to do. It's just pretty much the running gear is coming up next, followed by the tracks, followed by the top deck, followed by the glacis plate and the exhaust, and then we're done. So that's where I'm at with it, guys. Any questions, anything you want to know, anything you want to ask, any comments you want to leave, again, feel free, leave them below in the comment section. And I'll give you an update probably tomorrow when I've done a bit more on it. It'll probably be painted up, and then we'll go from there, guys. So thanks for your time, and we shall speak to you again very shortly.